made or done were done by him. You could even say that Yeshua was the lamp that they put in the water to sweeten the water.
Yeah, so it's interesting because you have, in all three of these, now here's what's interesting. In all three of these, I said you had wood. So in the first one, he tells Moses, go cut down a tree and put that in the water, and the water that is now bitter, marah, will become sweet. In the second one, he says to Moses, take the staff that you had when you struck the Nile and go and strike the rock. Now here's what's interesting. In the second one, in this third one, excuse me, in the third one, Exodus 20, Numbers 20, he says to Moses, Moses, take the staff. But here's what's interesting. He says, take the staff, but I want you to speak to the rock. Which begs the question, if all I wanted Moses to do was speak to the rock, why would I even tell him to take the staff? But here's what's interesting. You're questioning yourself, which staff is he talking about? Because there's two staffs. We've had the staff that he used to strike the Nile. That's Moses' staff. Then he has the staff that Aaron has. And that was the staff that was used just a chapter prior when we had the issue of challenging Aaron. And he said, put the staffs in front of the tent of meeting. And then what I want you to do is leave them overnight. These are staffs. And we said the word tribe and the word staff are the same in Hebrew. So they because each tribe had its own staff. This is dead wood that they would use to walk. They put all the tribe's staffs in front of the tent of meeting, and the next morning they come back, and Aaron's staff has leaves on it, and it has ripe almonds growing off of it. And then they said, put this staff before the Lord, which means in the ark, either in the front of the Ark of the Covenant or in the Ark of the Covenant. Debated. The point is it's near the Ark of the Covenant. Then what's interesting is, in this instance, in Numbers chapter 20, he says to Moses, take the staff. And at first you're thinking, is that the staff you had earlier in chapter 17, or is this the staff of Aaron? Turns out it's the one that Aaron had, because he says, the staff from the presence of the Lord. So take that one, okay? Which is fascinating. Then he says, but why does the Lord say to him, take the staff, when what he's going to do is, I'm not going to ask you to strike it like you did earlier. I'm going to ask you to speak to it. I'm going to ask you to speak to the rock this time. Don't hit it, okay? This time, we're not going to hit the rock. We're going to speak to it. You're going to say, and he doesn't necessarily give us the words he's going to speak, but you're going to speak to the rock, and the water is going to come out. Now, again, we don't have time to go into it, but it's interesting, the word for Miriam and the word for rebels that Moses uses are built off the same, and the word for Mara is built off the same root word for Miriam. So if you go back and look at these and show, you can see that Miriam is connected in these water texts. Her name is connected to these water texts. Rebellion, bitter. Her name, if you vowel point her name differently, is connected to these water texts. Okay, now here's what's fascinating. Go with me to Numbers 20. I'm going to show you something. What did Moses do or say that got him in trouble? Here it is. If you look, he says, verse 7, I want to start with verse 7. The Lord said to Moses, take the rod, you and your brother Aaron, gather the congregation together, speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will yield its water. Thus you shall bring water for them out of the rock and give drink to the congregation and their animals. So Moses took the rod from before the Lord. That's how we know it was the rod that belonged to Aaron, as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly together before the rock, and he said to them, God had told him to speak to the rock. To speak to the rock. Well, Moses starts off by addressing the people. That's the first thing that you can tell is wrong. Hear now, you rebels. And that word rebels is built off the same vowel, the same consonants as Miriam's name. Now here's what he says. Must we bring water for you out of this rock? That's the second thing he did wrong. He said we. And the Holy One, blessed be he, is saying, who's the we? He should have said, first of all, he should have said anything to the people. And if he was going to address the people, he should have said, the Lord will bring water from the rock for you. Instead, he said, we. Now he's standing there. There's him and Aaron. And maybe he's including God in this. But God is saying, look, There's no you and Aaron when it comes to bringing of water out of this rock. It's just me. So you have to declare me to be holy, which means separate. You can't let anybody think that what you did, that what I'm going to do, was on you. It was all about me. So this goes to the issue of our 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal. Okay? Another way you steal is when you take credit for that which only God has done. And you fail to show him holy. Moses said, shall we? And God said, there is no we in this. Let me show you this. Now, to make that point, go with me to Psalm. Go with me to Psalm 106, verse 31. Psalm 106, verse 31. This is the Vine commentary on what we've just been reading. Psalm 106, verse 31. We'll read verse 32. Look what he says. So verse 32 says, they angered him also at the waters of strife, so that it went ill with Moses on account of them. Because they rebelled against his spirit, so that he spoke rashly with his lips. Okay? So you're saying, what did Moses do that was rash? He used that one word, we. And God said, there is no we here. There is no we. It's me. And you stood before the people and made it look like you and Aaron and I, maybe you were including me, could bring water from this rock. You didn't show me holy. You should have said, if you were, first of all, you should have said anything. But if you were going to say something, you should have said, God is going to bring water from this rock for you. Yeah, go ahead.
Senator Stern says Moshe spoke up without thinking.
Yes. Yeah. He's been angered by the people. Here's what's happened. After 39 plus years, they've had this water all this time. And having seen this miracle with them every day, they had manna from the sky. They had water from the rock. Their shoes did not wear out. All these miracles, and you would think that when they're on the precipice of moving into the land, and God says, let's test them one more time to see, after 39 plus years, if things are different and if they've learned. And what had happened is, here's what's happened. The first generation has infected the second generation with the same doubt, with the same lack of faith. And instead of going to God and saying, oh God, we need water, you know that we're going to die without it, instead of going to God, they go to Moses and they complain. And they say the same things that everybody said, the first generation said in chapter 17 of Exodus. And Moses has got to be thinking to himself, you know what? What does God have to do to prove himself to you people that he will supply your needs? He's been doing it for 39 plus years. What more does he have to do? He's brought you water. Your shoes haven't deteriorated. Your clothes haven't deteriorated. You've had water from the rock that's followed you. What more does he have to do to prove to you that he will be there for you? And yet we get to this death of Miriam, and all of a sudden the water stops. The water stops, and God says, the people, instead of saying, hey, Moses, after all these years we've learned our lesson, now we're going to cry out to the Lord. They cry out to Moses again. Why did you bring us out here? What's this all about? We're going to die. We're going to die. He says, look, and God is trying to say, look, I didn't bring you this far to leave you. I did not bring you this far to leave you. This is not why I brought you out. I brought you out to bring you in. And you're going to go in. But you know what? The reason why this group's not going to go in is because of lack of faith. You demonstrated it. And by the way, God proves that, you know what? The time didn't change them. Their hearts did not change from the time that they were in Exodus 17 to Numbers chapter 20. Still the same thing. Yeah, 1, 2. Then who's the third over here? But, okay, Jennifer, you were first. What?
Why do you say that God is testing the
another generation.
Well, I think he's testing the people to see if this second generation is going to be different than the first generation. Are they going to have learned the lesson and say, you know what, we will cry out to God, and we will seek His face for what our needs, instead of going to Moses and saying, Moses, this is, we think that, you and God have brought us out here to kill us. So I think he is testing the people, the second generation. Although I will say this, the second generation had more faith than the first. They did go into the land, although they have their problems too. But the second generation is not going to see this water like this. They're not going to see, the land is going to supply that. They're not going to see the manna for 40 years. So they're going to have to, different procedures. He may have been testing Moses as well, because in the past, Moses, and he does here, he goes to God, but he says to Moses, here's the test of Moses, and I think it is a test of Moses. He says to him, Moses, here's the deal. I want you to take the staff. Up to that point, it all sounds like the past. So this time I want you to speak to the rock. I want you to talk to it. We're entering into a new phase, Moses. This is a new phase. In the past, you struck the rock. Now we're moving into the land. You're going to have to speak. And Moses didn't pass the test as well. And by the way, it's interesting because Miriam, Aaron, and Moses all don't go in. They were part, here's what it shows us. They were part of the generation that didn't have. No, Aaron does not go in. Aaron dies too. Miriam dies here. Aaron's going to die. And then Moses is going to die. Although Moses is interesting because his burial and his death, he gets to see the land. And Moses actually comes back to God and says, can you rethink this? Can you rethink this and let me go in? And God says, no, Moses, I've spoken on this one. You're not going in. I will let you stand over Mount Nebo and see it. You can look in. But you're not going to be able to go in. And we have said in the past that part of that reasoning is, I think, is that I don't want to stress this too much because it can be abused. But when you're standing before people speaking and you're a leader, there is that you have a deeper responsibility than a person who's not speaking to anybody. Because you influence people, and what you say can affect how they view God and everything else. I think parents have this responsibility when they speak to their children. Pastors have this responsibility when they speak to a congregation. I'll reiterate this because I said it last week. We've had many in our movement, that they speak. Anybody can hang up a shingle. Anybody can put up a website. Anybody can self-print a book. This happens all the time. But we have to be judicious. We all have to be judicious when we look at this stuff, when we read it, when we watch it and say, is this the Word of God? Is this legit? And we have to be judicious and watch. Not just, but they have the responsibility to speak the truth. Yeah, so go ahead, one here and one here. Go ahead.
I was just thinking that the people felt in a sense of entitlement because, human nature, God does these wonderful things, but time goes by, you forget the impact of it, and it dulls. And so they just sort of took it for granted.
Yeah, so think about this though, how do you take, and I hear what you're saying, we're taking the miraculous, they're going to go in the land, and in the land you're going to have rivers and streams and wells. So it's not going to be a rock that follows you. The miraculous is not going to be there like this. You have manna that falls every day, and you go out and you get it. You have water from this rock that follows you. That's going to cease. But how does this generation that sees the miraculous, how does the miraculous become so commonplace that you have no faith after all that time of seeing the miraculous? You become dulled to it. That seems so interesting to me. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's interesting that he uses the tree for a lot of stuff because, and a large tree will have, thousands and thousands of gallons of water inside it. And then the staff as well is, the tree will grow till it reaches the water down below. Like Aaron's staff did, obviously had some type of root system or whatever, meaning, there's a whole bunch of meaning behind that as far as the tree and what it
I think
how it grows.
Yeah, I think that Aaron's staff, though, it does it overnight, one night. So it's interesting that it buds. It's ripe almonds. ripe almonds in 24 hours.
Overnight.
It's like you can eat these.
But it's the water of life that it reached, that's why, I think that's what it was kind of.
I think it's, yeah, not to be too disagreeable, I think it's just more of I think it's really just the miraculous, that God just said, grow.
Yeah.
Just like he did with other parts of nature, like we see in Jonah, this plant, it grew up overnight.
Yeah.
It's a full plant overnight, just grow. Sitting a worm that just eats this thing and just decimates it overnight. I mean, I think it was just miraculous. Now, I'm not saying that God can't use natural means for supernatural purposes, but
I just
it's
meant
more,
the symbolism.
yeah,
that's
okay,
involved
all right,
with that,
fair enough.
The taproot that goes down
Yeah.
to reach the water, and meaning that is alive, or a live tree holds water and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Fair enough. All right, yeah, sure. Anyway.
When you talk about Moses talking to the rock the second time, it almost like a different faith or a different relationship. I almost think that as if Jesus is the rock. The first time he had to be bruised.
Yeah.
After the bruising of Jesus, we have to talk to him. We get this relationship of interpersonalization to get the flowing water, get the Holy Spirit. We get to talk to him.
Yeah, some have seen it as first coming, second coming of Messiah. That the Messiah would be stricken, and then so I want to do more with that. I don't know what to do with that. I'm intrigued by it, but I don't know what to do with it yet. Fascinating though. Yes, go ahead.
I see a parallelism between God's judgment for Moses and the judgment Yeshua pronounced on the Pharisees when they attributed his miracles that he had done to Beelzebub.
Yeah, attributing. Yeah, that would be a lack of showing holiness as well.
Yeah, he was taking the work of the Holy Spirit and giving it to Beelzebub.
Right.
And he said, that won't be forgiven you in this world or the world to come.
Right. And did you catch in one of the texts we read that it was the Spirit of God? I don't know if you caught that. It's talked about the Spirit of God as well involved in this. So the Spirit is always there, involved in this whole process. Even though we're focusing on the Christological side of it. But here's the thing. So I don't want us to lose this. I'll come back to you. I don't want to lose the Messiah. Yeshua, the Messiah, is there with his people in the wilderness. He's there in the cloud. He's there in the fire. He's there in this rock. And he doesn't abandon them. They're never abandoned. He's always with them, always present. And it's just fascinating that he's going to bring them to the desired destination. No matter, and here's the key. If he can't work with this generation, he'll say, look, I'll work with the next generation. If I can't work with them, I'll work with the next. We're going to continue to do this work until this world is redeemed. Right here, go.
Going back to be careful what we teach.
Yeah.
Because in the scripture it says, why did you bring us up out of Egypt? Well, they weren't the ones that really were brought out of Egypt. It was that generation, this is the next.
Right. They may have been children because it was 20 and below.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Could be
it's
children.
different